So part of it is technology and part of it is political power, right? So historically with commodity monies, basically you'd have different types of commodity money. So some cultures would use shells, some cultures would use, something else. And when technology improves, we figure out how to make more of that type of money. We say, okay, now, our fishing boats are way better. We can go out, we can get like a ton of shells and devalue them, right? So basically humanity's constantly searching for the hardest type of money, the one with the highest stock to flow ratio, meaning that we can't really bring a lot new to market compared to how much is already distributed throughout the market. And over thousands of years, the two that have really hold up are silver and gold, especially gold. That's the one that, like, if you look at a century-long chart of the estimated gold inflation rate, meaning that the amount of new gold created every year compared to the estimated amount of above ground gold, it oscillates around 1.5% per year with a very narrow band of 1 to 2%. It's actually like impressive to look at, and that's because it's basically a very high stock to flow ratio asset, and there's a built-in difficulty adjustment because as over thousands of years, as we've gotten better at mining gold, we've also mined the easiest deposits of gold. So it's kind of like the gold is getting harder for us to mine to keep up with our technology. It's the only, along with perhaps silver, it's the only commodity that's really kind of maintained that. Now we also have super rare commodities like rhodium, but because they're not widely held, they're not liquid, they're not fungible enough, they don't really serve that role as money. So kind of gold as the highest stock to flow ratio commodity has been the one that's been resistant to debasement over thousands of years. And so that as you kind of have this pyramid of almost like a March Madness chart of all these different commodities kind of competing for the top slot, and it was gold that proved to be the most resistant to debasement. But the downside of gold is that it's not fully portable, right? So it tends to be centralized. And then so we had countries kind of issue, they would centralize it in bank vaults and then central bank vaults and then issue notes against it. And then of course what you can do then is end redeemability or devalue redeemability for those notes relative to gold. And so as we shifted to more of a fiat-based standard, we shifted away from commodity money and towards fiat money. And that's where after technology, bring in the second part, which is that kind of political power, geopolitical power, kind of shifting roles of power. And after World War II, the U.S. had by far the world's largest navy. We had something like 40% of global GDP. So the United States could go to different countries and just basically make deals with them, kind of like deals you can't refuse, sort of, and say, okay, so we're going to give you protection from other entities and ourselves in exchange for you using dollars, as say you're only going to sell your oil globally in dollars, or you're only going to sell this in dollars, and you're going to hold your a large portion of your reserves in treasuries in dollars. And so due to the fact that we're the large, the Navy that can really kind of defend global supply chains, and due to, just that global reach, we've been able to maintain that system. And essentially what it is, it's the dollar backed by oil, but not really pegged to oil, right? So globally, because, OPEC's been only pricing their oil in dollars, everybody around the world thinks in terms of dollars, needs dollars if they want to import energy. And then on top of that, we layered the euro dollar market, which is basically the debt markets. So that kind of petrodollar system kind of kick-started the network effect. But then on top of that, all these countries took out debt in dollars, right? So if say Brazil, a company in Brazil wants to borrow money, there's some investors that maybe are willing to lend in local currency with high rates. But if they want lower rates, or if there's a problem with the currency at the time, it's often done in dollars. So a lender in Europe might lend to a borrower in Brazil in dollars, even though none of these are Americans, right? So and because that system is in place, all of that dollar-based debt represents demand for dollars. And so, for example, the Bank for International Settlements estimates that there's $13 trillion worth of U.S. denominated debt in offshore markets. And it could be higher than that. There could be derivatives and other things that bring that number higher. And so all of that represents demand for dollars globally. And so what it essentially is a large network effect that has kind of displaced commodity money. But the challenge now, of course, is that as debt has built up higher and higher in the system, the inflation-adjusted yields are getting lower and lower, and as you have kind of the world building out. So as you have the rise of China, as you have kind of, the US kind of diminishing its role as the biggest commodity importer, now it's number 2, and as you have, you're going down from say 40% of global GDP down to 20% of global GDP, the world's more diversified, we're seeing challenges to that really centralized system of having the treasury of the dollar at the heart of the reserve system as opposed to something like gold.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dan, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I intend, how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dan.